Chargers. Touchdown, UCLA.
With USC great and NFL stud, Frostee Rucker.
The Trojans back in front.
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrud on the Believe Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
What's up, LA? This is Ryan Dyrud with the LA Football Podcast, and support for LAFB is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Guys, I know a lot of you skip past these ads or just ignore them, but this is one that will actually benefit you every single time you use this product. The worst thing you can do is get nicks, cuts, scrapes, gashes, anything to your southern region down below. It's painful. It's gross. You don't want it. So that's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team spent 18 months, that's a year and a half, perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created and just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. And even better, you get 20% off and free shipping with the code LAFB at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code LAFB. I promise you, your balls will thank you. What's up, Los Angeles? Welcome into another edition of the LA Football Podcast here on the Believe Podcast Network, always on LAFBnetwork.com, your destination for Los Angeles football. Rams fans, victory Monday as the Rams brought down the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. It was their first home loss in 10 tries, first home playoff loss in 10 tries. The last team to do it was your Rams, and now again. So we're going to get into that game, get into these playoffs, maybe do a little Chargers coaching search talk. But first, got to welcome in, as always, the great Frostee Rucker, my co-host, my friend. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm great, Ryan. What a weekend of football. 6 games, bro. I was glued.
6 games.
I needed that. It was good for my soul. It was good for the new year. And I'm surprised this hasn't happened before. This
I know.
is a great weekend of football.
I loved it. Every game really, besides the last one, the Browns and Pittsburgh game, which at least got a little interesting at the end, but every game was super close. Great competition I loved it. 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. Basically wake up and it was football till 8 o'clock out here on the West Coast. So, loved it. What do you think of my new background? I had to rep this Rams win.
No, it's pretty cool. Rams win. Pete Carroll's pissed off. Jalen Ramsey, what a stud, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I had to get I was searching on Reddit, and I'll give a shout out to Destillat is the name of the user. So I asked him if I could use this, and he did approve. So
Awesome.
Just kind of cool. Little shout out to him, and a shout out to our Rams. And we got to shout out our bets we had with Lofa and Brett. We won. I think we won all 3 of them.
Yeah, man. We cleaned up on all our bets with the Rams bets, and we cleaned house. And now we get to drink our Rams Who House.
That's right.
Right.
A little Golden Road. I'm not used to having a background, so it's hard to capture it in here. There we go. There it is. Golden Road, Whose House, sponsors the LA Football Podcast. So shout out to Golden Road. We can sit back and enjoy those. Head to the LAFB Network locker room to pick up yours, Whose House, before next week's game. Got to stock up the fridge, right? And cheers us, and we'll have a drink during the game. But yeah, I think Chris Carson was under 22 carries was the bet. 22 touches was the bet. I think he finished with like 16 carries and 1 catch. DK Metcalf. Brett had the over-under at 8.5. He took the over for receptions. He finished with 5. He did have 2 touchdowns, but they weren't against Jalen Ramsey. So Jalen Ramsey, I think he's allowed, it's like 5 receptions in 3 games on DK.
Crazy part about this is we haven't heard anything from Brett or Lofa about our bets.
I got, there's a lot of smoke called on Instagram before the game from Lofa. And Brett did respond to me on Twitter just saying, it's frustrating to be a Seahawks fan. Enjoy those donuts, but we'll see when they get shipped. I need receipts.
Yeah, can I get a please, guys?
Yeah, I need receipts.
Top Pot, you're listening. Top Pot, Lofa Tatupu, your star stud linebacker, all pro, owes me donuts.
Yeah. So, but hey, aside from this Rams game, what game I guess most excited you this week? And we can talk a little random football talk.
Completely honestly, I think although it wasn't the flashiest game, the Browns game to end the evening yesterday of the playoff weekend.
Mm.
It was a great story. I felt good about the Browns going into the season. I knew with Baker and helm that they'd play a lot better. Didn't know how the coach would react to the situation, but they did great. They great story, beating Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's on the spiral, bro.
Yeah. I mean, they got a lot of question marks, a lot of big free agents. I think Juju's a free agent. Bring him home. USC, bring him home.
Yeah.
But Cleveland, I mean, you spent a short time in Cleveland. What's that town like? Everyone talks about a football town. They've been starving their first win since '94. But what's that football town actually like?
Amazing, dude. It's amazing. Like, that's one of the reasons I went there. I know that's not a destination everyone wants to, say. In free agency, I'm going to Cleveland. A lot of why I did it that went into it, and a part of that was the fan base.
Yeah,
I mean, you talk about dedicated people that do know the same statistic that you just said, that they haven't won a playoff games as such and such, and they never go. And all you have is these images of guys with the trash bags over their heads, right?
Yeah,
but they're there every week. They're there. They're so loyal, and they own it. They deserve it. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I remember, this is not football related, but I remember a few years back when the World Series was Cleveland Indians and Chicago Cubs, and it was like the battle of fan bases. That I know Chicago's, the Black Sox have won a bunch, and the Bears have won in '85. But as far as baseball, they hadn't won either program in 80 something years, both combined. And then obviously with football, the Browns Cleveland hadn't won anything until LeBron and the Cavs won that one year. So yeah, it's a cool city. My cousin lived there for a while, and it's up and coming. I think it's a trendy city now, as weird as it is to say, but Cleveland is a trendy city.
Yeah. You got to thank LeBron for that. The king,
totally.
You know what I mean? He made it cool. He made businesses thrive when he was there because people came to watch him play. He rejuvenated that whole town and gave them some life outside of just sport and losing sport. So Cleveland can't say nothing without mentioning LeBron in this. But no, the Baker Mayfield and that team has done what they needed to do. They won a playoff game. That's the first thing they can do to get the stigma off of them. Yeah. And it's just a feel-good story. It's something that 2021 needs to lead by.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that they won without their head coach, without multiple other coaches, without their Pro Bowl guard, Joe Bettino, all these, multiple players all out with COVID, and they still came out and dominated. And, part of that was, call a spade. Pittsburgh kind of handed them some points with a lot of those turnovers. Three, the first play of the game reminded me of that Broncos Seahawks Super Bowl when the safety right in the game. But yeah, hats off to them. Randomly with LeBron, obviously still playing at such a high level. I mean, that guy could probably play into his 50s if he really wanted to. Could you see him when he retired, though, getting involved in politics, running for like mayor of Cleveland or something? I mean, he has such a heavy hand and powerful voice.
And what I've learned is politics are so dirty. You might as well just stand outside of them.
I agree.
And champion your voice elsewhere. He doesn't need to do that. He can make as many moves that he needs to make politically by just putting his money where his mouth is and building schools and giving opportunity and speaking the truth. He doesn't need a position like that to step outside himself.
I agree. I think you can get so much more done in the private sector instead of going through the bureaucratic red tape and all that stuff. So I think he can do much more privately. Yeah. But I do expect him to be he already is very involved, but even after retirement, I expect him to be even more involved, especially with that town of Cleveland.
Yeah, he should own the Cavs,
That would be huge. Yeah.
If Dan Gilbert gives that away, but things like that.
Money talks.
Monumental. Yeah. Everything's for sale, right?
Yeah. For a certain price. So
everything's for sale.
Yeah. Including people's souls, apparently. But the game, I'm trying to think back what I enjoyed most before we get into this Rams game. I really enjoyed the Indianapolis-Buffalo game, which I think was the first game of the playoffs. Phillip Rivers could have been his last game ever. So I know there's a lot of Chargers fans rooting for him.
He'll be back.
You think?
Yeah, he'll be back. He if he doesn't lose in a way like just a 4-win season or something like that, that's when he's going to hang him up. But as long as he's in the playoffs and he's making noise and he has a team that will support him, why would he retire?
Do you think
he's healthy?
Do you think he'll be back with Indy? Because it was a 1-year deal, and I question that just because Indy has a championship caliber team, and Phillip had a great year, but I don't know if Phillip necessarily made them better necessarily. Do you think they would be willing to bring it back for another year?
No, he helped them.
He didn't hurt them by any means, but
and that's the thing. The quarterback position's so fragile that it's either you're elite, you're good, or you're terrible. And I think those are like the categories I give guys.
yeah.
And Phillips
good.
still, still good. And he gave them what they wanted as an organization. Obviously, that's a draft or something that you do need a guy because you don't know how many more Phillips has, but he doesn't hurt you bringing him back for one more. At that rate, Fitzmagic's going to be a free agent. That's probably one of the only places he haven't stopped,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think he has.
Might put a little energy in the air out there. Who knows?
Yeah. And what's the other option for the Colts unless they trade up and draft someone or go after, I don't even know who they could go after, but go for a trade or something like that. Cause they have Jacoby Brissett, Jacob Eason.
Dude, they got a squad.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I enjoyed that game. Buffalo is actually my pick of the AFC to go to the Super Bowl. So, they were able to secure the win there and we'll see if, how this next weekend goes.
You said Buffalo's going to Super Bowl?
That's my pick of the AFC.
You're not off. They do have a really good team, high energy, well coached, discipline. All three phases is good. But
here's why. Let me explain myself.
Go ahead.
Are they as good as Kansas City? No. Are they much better than Baltimore? It's really close. I don't even know if I'd go that far.
Yeah.
But every year,
you don't.
Yeah. But every year I feel like there's this team that gets like a little magic pixie dust on. They just have a great story. There's something pushing them farther that maybe they're not the talent there. We saw, with the Giants in the years past. And I just feel like that they're the team that just has that kind of magic pixie dust. They obviously had a great year. And I think this may be their year where they just sneak in.
Okay. Well, the only how that would happen is if they make it to the championship round and they're playing versus the Browns. And then they may be the Browns.
Yeah. You don't think they're getting past the Chiefs?
I don't think they get past the Chiefs, but I don't know about the Chiefs and the Browns right now.
Yeah.
That's just being completely honest. The way that the Browns play, run the ball. They have a two-headed monster in the backfield. Baker's not going to lose the game. He's going to play very conservative, but get the ball where it needs to be. And if they keep the Chiefs off the field and run the clock and run those running backs and break down the spirit of that defensive front, it could be a long day for Kansas City if Mahomes can't play back and forth volley through the air with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be, I think all four AFC games are going to be really tight. Anyone could win any of those. I think they're real evenly matched. Baltimore, Buffalo, it's going to be a tough matchup. And then obviously you talked about Chiefs, Browns. So, and
I didn't even want to go over the Baltimore. Hold on. Let's rewind here.
Okay. Go
talk
ahead.
about that matchup.
I know you're big on Baltimore.
I am. I'm big on Baltimore. And I think Baltimore, I called them winning this game yesterday, going into Tennessee. It was an attitude check. I remember the moves they made in the offseason, the personnel up front they got to combat a Tennessee Titans team, and that's what they used. They used Calais. They had Wolf.
Derek Wolf.
They have big guys up front. Yeah, they have big guys up front, and they they won the line of scrimmage in that way, and Henry didn't beat them. So therefore, I knew the Titans weren't going to be able to beat them. Good team.
Yeah.
I just knew it was going to be an attitude check, and that's what it was going to take. If Baltimore plays pissed off versus Buffalo and Lamar has a day and Lamar just goes out there and play like there is not a next week and runs when he has to run and takes off and does what he does, it can be a very interesting play. And I'm not there to say who wins yet today, but I'm saying that's a real good game to watch if Baltimore comes pissed off.
It's going to be a great game, phenomenal game. And they both kind of built similarly, very similarly. And everyone talks about Josh Allen, how good he's been, obviously an MVP candidate, obviously Lamar Jackson's former MVP. Josh Allen was a 7th overall pick, and there's always the storyline, the narrative, how he plays the chip on his shoulder because that's 6 teams that passed on him. Some teams didn't have a quarterback. Well, remember, Lamar Jackson was in that same draft, and 30 teams passed on him, being the Buffalo Bills as well. They took Josh Allen over him. So I'm sure he's going to play with a little chip saying, hey, I'm the better quarterback. I have an MVP, and I just beat you in the playoffs if they are to win. So it's going to be a phenomenal game. Probably one of they're all going to be great. I can't really pinpoint which is going to be better. All 4 playoff games are going to be fantastic this weekend. this coming weekend.
A lot of good bets. BetOnline.ag. There's going to be a lot of good bets, the overs and unders with this one, because there's going to be some tight games, and you got to be dialed up. A lot of money to be made, man.
Yeah, thanks for getting me back on track. Hadn't mentioned BetOnline.ag sponsors the LA Football Podcast, so make sure to head BetOnline.ag. Great sign-up bonuses. If you use Bitcoin, you get double your bonus if you sign up. So
Bitcoin got crushed today.
Did it? Because it's been skyrocketing.
Yeah, and it went all the way down.
Wow.
All the way down. Yeah, but anyways, Bitcoin's up there. Bring it back up, guys.
That's a funny story. I want to say that because I had deposited with Bitcoin into BetOnline, did some stuff, lost some wagers, and I had money left over sitting in Bitcoin, and I was just waiting to re-up so I could bet some more, and it had kept going up, my money. So I'm like, I'm just going to leave it in there. It went up almost doubled, and literally Saturday morning before the playoffs, Saturday morning, I was like, all right, I just want to it's playoff football. I got to get in. So I literally deposited all of it into BetOnline. I guess it's smart I did if it went down literally yesterday or today.
I sent you something to your cell phone stuff.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. Oh, that's hilarious. I'll check it out after the show. So, all right. I'm glad I moved out of there. Yeah, betonline.ag. Sign up today. It won't affect you if you use Bitcoin because you buy it and then just immediately transfer it. So you're not going to lose anything if you do it that way, or just, deposit from your bank, whatever you want to do. But yeah, your online wagering machine. So, all right, Frost, let's move over to the NFC, move to the Rams game. A dominant performance by this defense. I know Brandon Staley's been a hot name for head coaching candidacy, and I think he just implemented himself even more after, completely shutting down his unit, completely shutting down Russell Wilson, slowing down DK Metcalf, really stopping the run. We both watched the whole game, obviously. What was let's just start with your initial takeaway, and then we'll just get into it.
Great play, and great play by the players.
Yeah.
Right. Great game, all the way through and through. I thought the Rams wanted it more. They weren't afraid. Obviously, the 12th man wasn't there in Seattle, and that plays a huge factor in their success. I don't care how you slice and dice it. They got good players, but
totally.
That is definitely something that's a factor of the game. And 12th man wasn't there. Every matchup across the board seemed to work in the Rams' favor. It was a great one to watch. I love seeing Big Whip back out there. That was huge.
Huge.
To see him. I was a little nervous going to, I know how old he is. Hell, we came in the same year. And, to see a guy battle back from injury, I already know what that's all about. But to come back in playoffs and play really good and, be circled on TV for run blocking someone out the screen. And, he's just such a phenomenal player and impactful to that team. So I know that was good. And then the quarterback situation, how it unfolded with Goff having to go back in the game. I mean, it was just like a whole drama movie on like TLC or something.
Yeah. Lifetime, TLC, Hallmark, one of those.
It had everything that you wanted.
Yeah. I felt when the game started and it was announced Walford was starting. I mean, you've been talking about that since Tuesday. As everyone was like, oh, I don't know. And you were like, no, it's going to be Walford. I mean, he guy just had surgery, and you were absolutely right. And it was Walford. And I think I almost felt like a little more relieved. Like, okay, let Goff get healthy more. I think I have confidence in Walford just because of what different things he can do. Obviously, he's not as good as Goff. I don't care what anyone wants to say. He's not at this point, in his career. But at least he adds something to it that it's a little different, makes the offense tick a little bit, right?
Right.
And then he gets out on the second possession with that big hit from Jamal Adams. Ends up going to the hospital. Obviously, now we all know he's okay. It was just a stinger. And then Goff comes in, and immediately, I think on his second drop back, gets sacked. And I was like, oh, man. Okay. So
yeah, it's going to be a long day. It's like a day for a day at the Pooh Farm.
Yeah. I was watching with a buddy, and I'm like, okay, the Rams are not going to win this game unless they get a defensive touchdown. They're going to have to get points from the defense. And so I said that, and I'm not here saying like, oh, I'm a prophet or anything, but it just happened to be a coincidence. Literally 2 plays later, Darius Williams pick 6. So I guess I am a prophet. And that's when I'm like, okay, this defense is that good that I have full confidence. If the Rams offense just doesn't turn over, even if they just sluggishly move the ball and put up, 3 field goals, this defense is good enough to get the job done. And they ultimately did.
Well, it all starts up front. Look at those guys they got up front. Those guys are pinning their ears back, pushing the line of scrimmage back. Russell Wilson's his passing lanes and essentially are his running lanes, B gaps weren't there. He couldn't step up and deliver the ball. He had to make some wild plays and scramble, and he did that throughout the course of the game. But like you said, started up front, but that defense itself is so sound and aggressive and I hate to even say that at one point in the season, we were doubting their defense. And now look at them stepping up when it mattered. Did we see a really good defense or a below average offense by the Seahawks?
That's a good question. I think the Seahawks has been struggling. We talked about that last episode with Lofa and Brett. But it's still an offense with Chris Carson, who's heralded as a really good running back. Russell Wilson, who every year is an MVP candidate and a top 5, top 8 quarterback. DK Metcalf, who I think he for sure is Pro Bowl. Did he go All Pro this year?
That I'm not sure.
I can't remember, but for sure Pro Bowler. Tyler Lockett, who you love, I love. I mean, they still have weapons, so we can sit here and say their offense has been spiraling, but I think we got to give credit to the Rams defense Russell Wilson with 3 minutes left in the game had 9 completions.
Yeah, let's talk about WrestleMania for a second. I was expecting this big game from him. I thought with DK being out there and having a season Russell was going to try to just get the ball to him at all costs. And it seemed like on a couple occasions he got the ball to him, but we did see a very frustrated DK because Russell wasn't forcing things. He was taking hits, he was taking sacks. He wasn't trying to lose the game for them because he knew that Rams up front was that dangerous. And for that, the Rams up front screwed the whole game up.
Absolutely. One of the best fronts, the best front, I think, in the entire NFL. And kudos to our buddy, mainly your buddy, but I'll call him my buddy now, Coach Eric Henderson, Coach Eric Henderson, who's got that unit just playing lights out. And we saw even when Aaron Donald went out, we're still questionable for this week, but, someone came out and said, yeah, he's probably going to play. Even when he went out, though, man, that unit was still dominant. I mean, Morgan Fox had a career game, played out of his mind. Obviously, Brockers, that was huge that he was able to play coming off the COVID list like hours before the game. Deshaun Robinson played great. The whole unit just stepped up, and I think that's a credit to Eric Henderson, the dog work they put in and week out, and how they're able to bottle up these quarterbacks.
Yeah, man. Our coach, Henny, Eric Henderson, has done a phenomenal job getting a chance to be in helm in front of the number 1 rated defensive line front in the league and just pushing them and they're playing all great. It's all top tier. He's going to get a lot of guys paid, including himself, with the performances these guys keep coming up with. AD goes out, guys step in, and they're playing like their hair's on fire. Like they don't skip a beat. And that's the thing. Right now in the NFL playoffs, you need depth because things are going to happen and one of your aces may go down. And this one could have been a shocker to the whole team. But what they did a great job of getting guys prepared to play. And I mean, those guys are taking advantage of their opportunity and they're going to make themselves some money in these playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. Coach Carroll was on ESPN radio Seattle earlier this morning, and he was quoted saying that's the best defense in the world right now, unfortunately. And they certainly showed out. Let me ask you this, Frostee, real quick. You played in the year 13 years, 4 different organizations, a bunch of different coaches. We've talked about Coach Henny, what he's done for this defensive line unit. You've played for some good defensive line coaches, Coach Brenson Buckner, your good buddy who you had on the show just a couple weeks ago. What does a defensive line coach do to make a unit better? I think a lot of fans will just, they'll sit here and pretend like they know what coaches do. Oh, fire that coach. The team's not performing. Do this, do that. But what specifically, if you can think of any off the top of your head, does a good defensive line coach do to actually make his unit overall better?
Well, they coach offensively. They know exactly what the offense is going to give them. So they're not coaching from defending it. They're beating them to the punch. And, a very smart defensive line coach knows coverages and he knows how to call the perfect games and stunts to get you in position. They know backfield sets and, how teams unbalance their line and do insert trap plays and, where they're trying to find their holes. And that's what a great D-line coach does, and happens to be a lot of them played the game so they know the blocking schemes, right? And that's what you need. And once they're real pros at it because they felt them. They felt the blocks. They felt the blind sides and the traps. These guys know their stuff.
Yeah. So they're playing active, not reactive.
Yeah, absolutely. Beating them to the punch, obviously the offense has the advantage. They know where the ball's going. They know when they're going to say hike and go. They got an advantage on the game. But if you know where your target's going to be by formation and you can cheat your alignments and do things like that because you're a coach to do it, and it opens up your awareness. Like when you're in your stance, you're not just glued to one thing. You see what's going on when a motion comes. Well, they run 3 plays out of this.
Yeah.
How tight's the guard? You see it and you feel it's like, oh, I remember coach went over that. That guard's tight with the motion. If you see the feet behind the quarterback, tighten up.
Yeah.
You see these things, you know them. And then it's just, it all goes back to the coaching.
Yeah. I love hearing that because this isn't to discredit Aaron Donald at all, but a lot of opposing fans will say, well, that unit's just great because of Aaron Donald, which obviously he makes it a lot better. But I love hearing that how much actual coaching goes into it and how important a good coach can make a unit that much better. And like I mentioned, Morgan Fox and these guys that aren't heralded names, how much elevated their game is. And it all comes to preparation the week before. And then we see it on Sundays or this week, Saturday. And it comes to fruition. And we've seen it in the secondary too with Aubrey Pleasant, who's done a phenomenal job coaching those guys up. So we'll talk throughout this playoff run or throughout the offseason how I specifically think 3 of the coordinators or 3 position coaches for the Rams have potential to be defensive coordinators just because of how well they've done. And hats off to them because it's fun to watch out there.
Yeah, they do a great thing. It's the education of game. And that just makes everyone play faster, play free. Don't have to call too many things because you guys are knowledgeable in what they're seeing, right?
Yeah.
You're not just calling plays, they get it. They get the why.
Yeah. And it helps when you've done the reps enough in practice to not play thinking, right? You can just react immediately. Like, okay, I know exactly this. I know it. It's ingrained in my head. I don't have to, because, thinking that extra split second can be the difference between a sack, be a difference between a run stuff, and a difference between a 40-yard gap misuse and play, right?
Oh, you're a play away, a bad step away, So the coaches that give you the advantage of how to tighten your alignment on certain things and how to loosen up, how to scoot back in your stance a little bit more off the ball so you don't jump off sides because a quarterback has a hard count. It's all the attention to detail. And again, it all starts up front on both sides of the ball, but defensive line especially because offense does have the advantage with knowing where the ball is going and when they're going to hike the ball.
Yeah. Got to give a shout out to Leonard Floyd too. Another great game. I think a multi-sack game. They got to lock that guy up, man. He's on a 1-year deal. They got to bring him back.
Yeah, that's a gimme. He's earned it and he's done what he's supposed to do. And we were asleep on this guy. We were all out to lunch on Leonard Floyd, and he had a plan this year, and he's executing his plan.
Yeah, and again, down to coaching because we saw the struggles in Chicago, and all of a sudden he comes in and he's a world beater in LA with the right scheme, fit, coaches. Not to discredit at all Dante Fowler, who had a solid year down in Atlanta, but it looks like Rams brass did the right thing by letting him walk and bringing in Leonard Floyd because he's been dynamic with this unit.
Yeah. Again, great offseason of scouting, drafting, and everything for the Rams front office.
Yeah, I'm excited to get not soon. I want this Rams run to continue. I'm excited to get to the offseason where we can kind of look at some potential brings in, who to keep. We'll get all into that, but. I do want to look a little bit in this episode. We might do more later in the week, but I want to look a little bit ahead to the Packers. But before we do, we got to give a kudos to Cam Akers, running back, who career game, 133 yards on the ground was the most by a rookie running back, I think, in playoff history. They went to him early and often. He was the bell cow back. And I think this whole season, we've been kind of, when he was drafted in the second round, I was like, okay, that's the guy that's going to replace Todd Gurley. And all offseason leading up into the first few weeks, it was a back by committee, Malcolm Brown was kind of the lead back early. Then Darrell Henderson became the lean back, but they were still, running all 3 guys. Guys got kind of banged up. McVay kind of kept it close to the chest. No, we got a running back stable. And the last few weeks, Cam Akers kind of took over the backfield, and he's exploded these last couple of weeks. And I think now it's safe to say this is the running back for the Rams of the future. And he plays like it, and he plays really well.
Yeah, he played very confident, and it's so good to get him back healthy and
huge.
Yeah, I mean, his health was the key, and now we understand exactly why he was picked where he was picked. And he adds such a dynamic to the game because he's running between the tackles. He's fast. He can cut. He's a special player.
He can catch.
The Rams really got a gem on this one.
Yeah, had the receiving touchdown that really sparked the offense a little bit there. Huge game from Cam Akers. He'll be instrumental in this game against the Packers. Before we move on, Cooper Kupp, another good game, had that big catch. It was basically just a layup toss. What?
Is he okay? We might need to get Dr. Nima on here to talk about.
That'd be fun to get him on because he has a knee contusion, so he should be good to go. Nothing torn, nothing, but it's a knee contusion in the same knee he's tore his ACL. I have no idea what that means. I just know it probably hurts, doesn't feel comfortable, but he should be good to go.
Yeah, let's try to get Dr. Nima Moran on here.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that'd be fun to hear him because I don't even know what a contusion is, to be honest. I probably had some in my playing days, but I don't know what it is. But he is okay, at least to that extent. No tears. So, but had that great catch, great game. So he'll be instrumental too. So let's real quickly, again, we might, if we're able to, preview more later, but this Packers game, do you think the Rams have a shot?
Ryan, no snow makes this a whole new show. Right. But I do think the energy the Rams had was because Goff came off the bench and him going into the game. I don't think he plays as energetic and, kind of played with a chip on his shoulder. It seemed like it looked like Goff was out there with something to prove. And, the pressure was off him because he didn't start it.
Yeah.
And him going into it, knowing he's a starter.
It's going to be a good matchup. I know a lot. They'll be the huge underdog. I want to say, I don't know the opening line on Bet Online. I'll have to look what the opening line was. I thought I saw somewhere it was -4.5 for the Packers, but don't quote me on that. We'll look, or you could look while I'm talking. So I got a point here I want to make. Bear with me, and you're gonna laugh at me. You're gonna laugh at me because anytime I bring this team up, anytime I bring the Broncos up, you
here we go.
You smirk, you grimace, whatever. But hear me out because I think this point is a good one. And Rams fans, turn your headphones up, stop whatever you're doing, and listen here, because I think this Rams team, right before the playoffs started on Saturday, my Super Bowl matchup was Rams-Bills. I didn't want to sound homerish because we covered the Rams, but I will always bet on a defense as dominant as the Rams, and here's why. The 2015 Broncos, who have had one of the best defenses we've seen in the last decade, went to the Super Bowl on an ailing, aging Peyton Manning and anemic offense, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl that year on the backs of a phenomenal defense. Let me just do some comparisons for you between this Rams and Broncos defense. So 2015 Broncos finished as the number one defense, allowing 283 yards per game. The Rams, number one defense, 281 yards per game. Both units allowed 18.5 points per game.
Okay.
The Broncos finished with 53 sacks. Rams finished with 52 sacks. Broncos allowed 17 touchdowns. Rams allowed 19 touchdowns. The defenses are extremely comparable, what they were able to do throughout the entire season. Now let's look at the offenses, because everyone talks about, the Rams defense is good, but the offense is a question mark. They don't have a good quarterback. Can the quarterback win in the big game? Yada, 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 yada. Let's compare the offenses now. Rams offense finished 11th overall, 377 yards per game, 23.3 points per game. That Broncos unit, 16th total offense, 355 yards per game, 22.2 points per game. When you look at Jared Goff versus Peyton Manning is Peyton Manning. Top 3 quarterback, in my opinion, all time. Hall of Famer, no doubt. But that season, Top 3?
Yeah.
I like Brady, Manning, and probably Elway.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I have, you could put, Montana somewhere in there, but those are my 3 off the top of my head. Peyton Manning that year, 59.8% completion percentage, 9 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. I know the games were a little different. Peyton Manning was injured that year, but Goff finished 67% completion percentage, 20 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. So I'm making that point that when a defense is as good as what the Rams are doing, all you need your offense to do is run the football, which they ran it 43 times against Seattle. Don't turn the ball over, which they didn't against Seattle, and let your defense win games for you. I truly believe this Rams team can go into Green Bay, and if they stick to that formula, stick to that recipe, they can get the job done.
Well, I mean, we're on this show for a reason, and I'm all for it. I hope they do be able to stick to that exact formula and recipe, and that's cause for success this week. It's a huge game.
Mm-hmm.
They're going against A-Rod, so can
MVP.
they get to the front and get to A-Rod? Yeah,
MVP.
Oh, for sure. Can they get to him?
Yeah.
So
and I can't
test.
And I can't wait to watch Jalen Ramsey and Devontae Adams. Is Adams the best receiver in the game, you think? I think it's so hard to pick a one. There's like 5 that are just so even.
Yeah, there's some elite guys. I don't think Adams number 1, but I mean, there's a lot of 1, A, B, C, D.
Exactly. And he's in that one.
Yeah, he's an elite.
One dot letter.
He's an elite. You know, he should be 99 to 100 on Madden, and those are special guys.
Special.
Yeah.
Yeah. Second round pick out of Fresno State. Shout out Fresno State. Last thing I'll say though about statistically wise, so both Rams and the Packers played outside of their division, played 4 teams over 500. Both teams finished 2-2 against that. So I think this game is a lot more evenly matched than what so far. It's been 24 hours since the matchup's been scheduled, but I think it's a lot more better matched up than people are giving credit for already.
Yeah, of course. It's the playoffs, man. So you don't get this far to get blown out, even though that's happened to me in the NFC Championship game. And our offense, I'm just going to say it for the record, our offense didn't play as good as they're supposed to be playing.
Yeah.
But it happened.
What offense that year? Yeah.
So I don't think a landslide victory happens here. I think it's going to be a duke 'em out, especially if Goff is battling. And if Goff is battling versus A-Rod and he takes that personal, we're in for a great game.
Yeah. Fun fact, that year, that Broncos year, since I did that comparison, the Broncos played the Packers and Aaron Rodgers finished with like 77 passing yards against that defense.
I get what you're saying because they got to him.
Yeah, got to him early and often.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can't do that. The whole offense is off if A-Rod can't swing it down the field.
Yeah. Do you think your Arizona team, had they beaten Carolina and played the Broncos in the Super Bowl, you think that number one offense would have taken it to that defense? I'm putting on this is your team, but you're a defensive guy.
What we would have beat your team because of your defense?
Do you think your Arizona Cardinals offense could have imposed their will a lot better than Carolina did against the Broncos in Super Bowl 50?
I don't know, because the Broncos are that good. We were very good on offense, and you wouldn't think we would get all the way to that point and have a night like we did, because we did have the number one offense going into it.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of weapons, and Carson can get the ball down the field, very active receivers, running backs. We had a team. But it would come down to play calling. If you put Carson back there 40 times a game trying to make him the MVP and letting Vaughn and those guys get going, you're playing to the other team's wheelhouse,
Yeah,
absolutely. Peyton wasn't going to be. This was going to be on how he administered the ball,
100%. Yeah.
So that's a good one. But I don't know if we'll see this week when Tampa plays the Saints, how Bruce calls this game. Is it for, you're trying to get Tom to MVP of this game, or are we winning the game?
Yeah. That's going to be another great matchup. There's so many good matches this weekend. I can't wait. So, great one. Saturday, Rams, Packers. I'm really excited for that. And yeah, I think we'll move on from there. If we're able to, we'll preview a little more later in the week. But yeah, Chargers fans, quickly, they have finished all 7 out of 8 of their interviews. Final one is just Arthur Smith, Titans OC. I'm sure that should happen here soon. So once those are all finalized, if anything else comes out, we'll talk more on that, but not a lot to report right now. I think if you're a Chargers fans, you have to be a lot more excited about Brandon Staley, who was interviewed on Sunday after the Rams win. I just think he fits that team very well. I think the fact that him and his family wouldn't have to move, it'd be a good move for him. So I know no one talks about that. As a player, I'm sure. I mean, a lot of people are like, yeah, go to this team, it's a better fit for you. But there's the personal side. He's moved now. He was in Chicago 2 years ago, moved to Denver. Last year was in Denver, then had to move this off. He's into LA. I don't think he would want to move to New York. And that's his whole family. He's got wife, kids. She's working as a teacher. Why not stay in the same city?
It makes a lot of sense, Ryan. When you put it that way, it makes a lot of sense, because no one wants to pick up a move, especially right now when you're dealing with COVID and you don't know when that's going to go away, and then you don't want to deal with a lot of people touching your things. It makes sense, right? So we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Totally. So, I think he's a rising candidate. I think him and Brian Dable are the top 2 for me right now for the Chargers. I know Rams fans don't want to lose Staley, but which is how well he's done, it's probably going to happen. And I think we'll talk. I think for us, it'll be fun. Maybe next week, we can talk about some potential if he were to go. Just playing hypotheticals, because hey, it's the offseason for a lot of teams now. If you were to go, who would be some leading candidates to take over the DC job for the Rams? And I think 3 of them, like I mentioned, are on the staff right now if he doesn't take them with him. So just something for future we'll put out there we can discuss.
Sounds good to me, buddy.
So, all right, man. Hey, blast as always. Appreciate you as always. What a great wildcard weekend. Can't wait for the divisional rounds. Let everyone know where they can find you at.
You can find me at The Organic Frost. And don't forget, email me at frosteepodcast@yahoo.com. Love to hear from you guys. Let's talk about how we want to see these Rams get all the way to the Super Bowl, hoist the Lombardi. Let's talk about the Chargers offseason, coaching changes. What's up? Holler at me.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool if we try to get some Rams fans. We'll do Chargers fans too, but Rams fans for now since we're in the playoffs. Send us, I'll put a post out, but send us a little video. You can be drinking if you want, but just a 10-second clip, shout out something for this Rams Packers games you're looking forward to, and we'll air it on the show. And that'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be a really good time.
Yeah. So we'll you can send it to Frostee. You can send it to me at podcast@lafbnetwork.com or just my personal Ryan Dyrud LAFB. That's on Twitter or at LAFB Network. Yeah, I think it'd be a good time to get a couple fans shouting out. So thank you all for listening. Thank you to Golden Road and betonline.ag. Enjoy your week, your Rams victory Monday. Chargers wrapping up those coaching interviews. So we'll talk throughout the week on who could be the speculative hire. And we'll talk to you all later in the week and hopefully preview more of this Rams-Packers game. So Frost, appreciate you, man. Take care.
Take care, buddy.